Hey Raider Nation, it's Joseph from Zenny62. So, I don't know if you saw the press conference that John Gruden gave yesterday. Kind of wanted to touch on that. He talked about typical, breaking training camp and some transactional things, and basically talked about some of the players. But the one thing I wanted to focus on was towards the end of the press conference when the topics were brought up about the social injustice that's going on. So, what I'm about to say will always disturb certain people. And again, I have to always reiterate I'm a huge Raider fan. My loyalty to the team is always going to be there. But when I see things that are not playing out, I think properly, I point them out. Some people can't handle that. They want everything, they live on blinders. They just want to see this all the way through and not see what's going around them. And so the comment that, what John Gruden had said was, I'm going to take time off and maybe even off tomorrow, which was the day before yesterday, meaning today, and have them research what's going on, to what's going on with the social injustice. So I'm going to kind of break down that thought process and tell you that I think he needs to do research. I don't think the players need to do any research to figure out what's going on and to research what's going on. It's almost like he's trying to tell them, "Oh, I want you to look at this information that talks about how bad this is or how bad BLM is," because it seems like a narrative. You got to remember, John Gruden has long supported a Republican administration. He was a big Mitt Romney supporter, and he's also broke bread, with Donald Trump. He's played golf with him. He knows Donald Trump, and so that's kind of how I break these things down. Is that I think he needs to do the research. I think since the majority of your players are African American, black players, they know what's going on. I think you're the one that needs to do research and to come up with some solutions. Now, one of the reasons why I think this whole thing got brought up is, if you recall, a few days ago, the majority of the NFL took a time off, not only in protest, but in solidarity to the rest of the sports league. The one team that didn't do that day were the Raiders. They had practice. But interesting enough, they didn't allow media to cover that practice like they did other practices. And why is that? Because they didn't want the questions asked, why aren't you standing with the rest of your fellow NFL teammates? And I don't blame the players. That's something done from the coach and the general manager. They chose not to, in protest, not have practice and talk about these issues. Now, what I'm assuming is they realize, well, we better kind of catch up and do something because we don't want to look like we're not sensitive to those issues. So this whole thing that, I gave the players a day off today and maybe partial tomorrow, and I want him to do research. I think he needs the one that needs to do research. When you have an owner that's a Republican supporter, you have a coach that's a Republican supporter, and who knows if, Mike Mayock's cut from the same cloth, he might be a Republican supporter himself. That I don't know. But I know that Coach Gruden has given to the Republican Party, specifically to Mitt Romney. Though Mitt Romney is not half as bad as Donald Trump, there's an agenda there and there's a philosophy that's there that has led to what the Trump administration is doing. We've always had these type of violences during the Bush administration, during the Obama administration, but never to the extent that you have in Trump's racist Republican administration. And the fact that they control the Senate and everybody in the Senate on the Republican side are cowards and won't pass bills to curb these things that are happening or pass any additional civil rights bills, that tells you a lot about what the Republican administration stands for. And when you have a coach not coming out to denounce that type of behavior, but instead says, oh, we need to do research. He knows exactly what's going on. He's the one that needs to do more research because, Coach Gruden, you're the one that played golf with Donald Trump. You're the one that supports the Republican Party. And the Republican Party is looking back at Donald Trump. You see all the illegal acts he's done, the countless lies, the fact that he violated the Hatch Act by having the RNC on government property grounds, because that's not his property. That belongs to the people. That's why that's always been said during the Hatch Act. You cannot use federal land or federal property to do any RNC or DNC or any political campaigning. But that's exactly what Trump did, because he doesn't care about the rules. He only cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's himself. And also, let me remind you that when you have a Trump Republican racist administration calling those Proud Boys, calling the KKK, calling the neo-Nazis, that there's good people on both sides, those aren't good people. And when you call BLM protesters terrorists, but again, the KKK who hang black people, who hate minorities, who do firebombs, you have the neo-Nazis, you have the Proud Boys, you have the white supremacists, those aren't terrorists. But the BLM protesters who are fighting for their civil rights and to protest the racial injustices by, unfortunately, some police officers who want to kill minorities, specifically black people, but all minorities in general, because there's a lot of minorities that go through the same thing. Maybe not to the extent. I'm not here to judge that or to put that out there. But this is more than just a Black Lives Movement matter, in my opinion. It starts with them, but it's to say, hey, if you are unwilling as a country to not stop these racial injustices against black people, you're not going to stop the racial injustice against any other minority. Because with those racist people, we're all grouped together. We're all lump sum, because if you're not white, you're not Aryan, they hate you. And when you have a president that does not denounce those organizations, and you have a Senate-run Republican Party that doesn't denounce the president, and when you have coaches and owners of NFL teams like the Raiders, but there are others, I'm not just about the Raiders, but I'm a Raider fan, I'm going to focus just on the Raiders, not denounce the racist acts that the Trump administration has done, as well as not take it upon themselves to right what's wrong, then I'm calling you out. The research you want your teammates to do, I mean, not your teammates, but your players to do, you should do yourself. And you should also include your owner in that. So, again, Raider Nation for life, but when I see something wrong, I'm going to point it out, and that should be corrected. Keep it here on Zenny62, and don't forget to like and subscribe. One last thing. There is none so blind as they won't see. Some people don't want to know the truth because they're afraid that it breaks the illusions of what the truth is and what they want to know. Remember, there is only one truth, and it's not coming from the White House.